We call him a full stack developer. So now what are the front end technologies? What is the back end technologies, right? So front end technologies like HTML, CSS and JavaScript, we use it for the front end development. So that front end development, we require these three languages we generally we use to develop our websites or web pages. What is the backend development? We use the Java or Python in a backend API development. So we are going to cover these both the things, web development and the backend development, to call ourselves as a full stack developer. Okay. So first of all, we'll start with the Python. Okay. So basically Python is a most popular language in today's world, right? So anywhere, any organization, you name it, they will be using a Python. At this moment, there is no organization you can find where they are not using a Python. Either they are service based or they are just providing the IT support. Still, they are using the Python. OK, even they are not doing the any development. They are just doing the support support projects. They are also using the Python. OK, so why the Python is so popular? First of all, right? Why every organization is behind the Python? Right? It's still, even though we have the many languages like Java, .NET, Go, all other languages are in the market, but still the Python gaining the popularity, or it is having the good market capture, right? When we compare it with the other languages, there's multiple reasons with that. So when we say the Python programming, Python comes with the two things. We call Python as a high level language and general purpose language. OK, let's understand what is high level language. The first word means here, right? So there are two types of languages in general in the technology world, a world of technology. One is low level and other one is the high level. Low level language means the binary codes, right? But machine can understand only the binary codes. It doesn't understand the English like languages like what we are talking, right? They can understand only the language of zeros and word byte codes, right? But if we start working on or using that low level languages, it's very difficult to write the programs in the low level languages, right? So it will take a lot of time for development, and it once you do the development, it's equal amount of time to debug the issue. Where is the problem, right? So what we have done is we have created the high level languages. OK, so what high level languages will do? It will help the programmer to concentrate on their development work, on their project, what they are going to develop, instead of concentrating on the languages in the coding side. So when I'm saying a coding side, in the low level coding side like zeros and ones, right? So to avoid, to reduce that time and to easily understandable and easily writable, that's why we have developed the high level languages. So in general, what happens in the high level languages? High level languages are of two types. One is interpreter based, one other one is compiler based. So what are the examples of high level languages are C++, Java, Python, .NET. All these are the high level languages. Why we call high level languages? Because it uses the English keywords and it is easy for a developer to read and write the program in that. OK, so in high level languages also there are two types basically. One is using the compiler, other one is using the interpreter. So what happens, once you write the code in any of these languages, we have to use the compiler or interpreter. That compiler and interpreter, it will compile that code into the machine code. And once it is converted into the machine code, it will run that code on the hardware, right? So that as machine, the hardware understand only the machine, basically the machine code. That's why there is something in between required to convert the high level languages code into the low level languages. We use the compiler or interpreter. Okay, so C++, Java, they are compiler based languages. In the college days, you might have used the C++, right? There you have to first compile the code. What it used to do, it used to check the errors in your code. If there is an error, it will prompt you that there is a code error, you missed the semicolon or syntax error, right? But once your code is got compiled, then you have to run that code, right? So in the compilation, it's used to create one another file which is called a compiled file, and that compiled file basically that it used to get executed, right? So what that compiler file is, the compiler file is the your machine code file, okay, and that code will get executed. What is interpreter based? So Python is interpreter based language. So what interpreter based language is, once you write a code into the interpreter, basically in the Python, it will no need to compile it. The interpreter will start executing your code line by line, and it will start the execution from the first line to the end of the program. So let's say you have a 10 lines of program, right? So if you have any issue or any error in the fifth line, so what it will do, it will execute first four line, and at the fifth line, it will throw an error message to you. But in compiler based languages, it is not happen. It will not execute the complete program, but here it will execute the first four lines of code. OK, so this is the high level language and low level languages. Then what is Python? Python is a general purpose language. Why we are calling it a general purpose language? Because writing from code from your system, basically till the big programs or projects, you can write it using the using the Python. So what is a small program? Let's say I want to send a daily good morning message to all of my friends on the WhatsApp group. OK, that job also I can automate. I can write one script which will help me. So every day morning, as soon as I must start my laptop, that Python script will get executed and it will broadcast my message. Even if I not open my WhatsApp group or WhatsApp web, it will automatically send that. So that automation, since from there you can do, and you have nothing to do, only 5 to 10 lines of code you have to write in the Python, and that will work out for you. OK, so from there you can do the automation using a Python till the big programs like the web development or any website development or any product you are developing. You can just name it and you can do it in the Python. OK, Google, Microsoft, not Microsoft, Netflix. These all are the big companies. They have contributed into the development of the Python programming language. And Google is a big customer of the Python. Your YouTube, the Google search engines, SEOs. What is SEO? SEO is basically the keywords which will be the search engine based keywords which will be helped to scan your website. So that scanner and everything is built into the Python. OK, so the general purpose, that's why the Python is called as a general purpose language. So even you can write the script on your uh, server side program. Basically the server programming also you can do. You can automate your job using the Python. Like if you want to 10 o'clock in your server, you want to download the file from somewhere. So from some file server or some website or some another server, you can automate that job using the Python. OK, if you want to take the backup of your database or any file or anything, you can do it using the Python. You can schedule your job, write a Python script, and it will do it for you. So once you are done, so that's why I said, even though the company is not in the development, they are just in the support, like the desktop support or any maintenance support projects, even though they are using the Python to automate their daily routine jobs. Okay. So you can AI, ML, machine learnings, everything you can just name it, the technology, the Python will be in use there. AI, ML, machine learnings and everything is based on the Python. Okay, so Python has a huge library for the development point of view and huge variety of or big community of developers who are using the Python currently. Okay, why companies are using the Python? One is its simplicity and because of all these feature. And nowadays, as it has a big community, big developer communities, it is very easy for companies to get the resource on the Python. If you are using some XYZ language, which is just new to the market, and if you are using and if it is difficult to get the developer for that language, the company has to face the problems. Maybe today I'm working on that language and company has hired me, but tomorrow if I leave that company to get my replacement, it is going to take a lot of time for that company to get the replacement, right? Because that resource, that skill is not readily available in the market, right? So that project may go into the scope, it will not work out or they may not be able to complete on the deadline. But if I get the Python in the market, I can get the easily a Python developer because it has the huge community of developer who can work on the Python, and Python is very widely used. Even though they have the lots of developer, but as the projects, there are huge community or there are huge projects, they are built in the Python. So they need, you can see anytime the opening for the Python. Okay. Now Python is known for its simplicity, readability and versatility. So each of these again, it has their own meaning. Python is so simple. How it is simple? When actually the Python was developed by the developers, their focus was on the less focus was on the syntax. More focus was on the development side. So they want to give the liberty to the developer to not to concentrate on the development side. They can concentrate on the development side rather than the syntax. Simple example if I would like to give is C++ or Java, we have to give the semicolon at the end of each line. And if you miss the one semicolon, your program will not work, right? In the C++, if you have the 100 lines of code and if you have missed the one semicolon, your code will not get compiled and your code will not run. But in Python, it doesn't have that syntax problems. The Python syntax are very simple, easily readable, and there is no as such semicolons or tab or anything you have to use it here. OK, here the less focus is on the syntax, more focus is on the your development logic, what you want to develop. OK, readability, as I said, if I open any program, even though you don't know anything about the Python, but at least you will be able to recognize what this program is going to do. If you execute that program, what it is going to do for you. OK, you may not be able to write it completely, but at least you will be able to understand what the program is and how, what are the things or what are the changes it is going to make on your system. OK, versatility, actually it can work on any of the platform, irrespective of operating system, it will work. Only the thing is you should have a Python install on your system. I can copy from my Windows machine Python script. I can run the same script without doing any modification on the Linux box or the Mac OS. Irrespective of operating system hardware, it doesn't need anything or any dependency on any of these things. Only one dependency it has is Python should be installed on the system. That's it. Once you have the Python installed, you can copy paste any Python code and it will work for you on any of the environment. Okay, that's the feasibility the Python gives to the developer. Okay, let's see the example here. So if you trying to write a hello world program in the Python, you can just give print hello and it will print it for you. But if you have to write in the C++ or Java, you have to write void main and then include some stdin libraries and then the print statement, and then you have to run that code, first compile it and then run the code. But here only a one line of code is sufficient to print the hello world. Okay. So the same example, actually, if we do the comparison with the other languages like C, C++, Java or any other languages. So here for writing a simple hello world in Python, only this one print statement is sufficient to print the hello world. But if you see in the C, we have to do the hash include std or include the libraries, then main program we have to write. Same for the C++, same for the Java, right? But if you see here, the simplest one is the Python. Okay, and that's the reason Python is more popular than any other language. Okay, if I do the comparison, so this is the one example. Here another example, the Python support dynamic typed. So why the dynamic type? So in C++ or Java, whenever we define a variable, we have to define the data type of that variable. So let's say I want to define the variable called x equals to 1. So before that I have to define the which data type or which type of value the variable is going to store in that, right? So int x equals to, and again I have to give the semicolon after that. But in Python, I can give directly a variable name equals to 1. So automatically, okay, the Python interpreter will understand, okay, this x equals to 1 means it is the integer type. So whatever the type of value you are assigning, automatically the data type of that variable will get changed. No need to specify any data type to the way when the way you are defining a variable. Okay, and you can define a variable at any point of time at anywhere in the program. But in the C, C++, you have to specify the variable at the top. You have to define at the top and then you can use it in the program, right? Simple syntax. So as I showed you, so it is if you compare here, it is very simple syntax in the print statement also. It is very easily you can read and understand what it is doing. So one more thing here, it supports many one-liner. So let's say you want to swap the value of two variables, okay, x and y. So in Java, you have to define one temp variable. First, you have to assign the value, store the value temporarily in the temp variable. Then value of y will be x and x value will equals to temp. And then you can change the value of swap the value of x and y. But here in the Python, only give x comma y equals to y comma x. So automatically it will assign the value of y to x and x to y. Okay. So this type of syntax, the support it Python supports. It reduces the number of lines of your code as well, right? They It has the English line like a commands, like the name basically the name is the variable name. So here again we have to define the data type of that variable string name equals to Bob. But here name equals to Bob. We can directly assign it and automatically it will convert the data type of that name variable to the string type and then you can use it. For print also just a print statement, but here we have to give system.out.println and then the name. And again, you have to remember that each end of the line you have to give the semicolon of that. Okay. Then Python support interactive data structure. So it has a list, tuple and dictionary data structure, which is very powerful, and it provides the different type of data can be stored in this interactive data structure. So that we'll see once we go to the learning into the Python. Okay. Now let's discuss what is a variable. Okay. A variable is an object to which we can assign a value. Okay. The value is assigned could be a number, text, file name, device, or anything we can assign to that variable. So basically a variable, we know the memory, right? In memory, memory is divided into the chunks of block, and each block has the memory address 1000, 1001, 1002. Okay, so these all are the memory addresses, and this is the chunk of the memory. Okay, so memory addresses. So what we do is we create a variable to that memory location. So basically variable to that memory location means we are giving the name to that variable memory location. Okay, let's say we have created a variable called rate and stored the value 100 at the memory location 1004. So rate is the name to that memory location. If you want to access the value using the memory location, if you have one or two values stored, you can easily remember, okay, 1004, the first value is stored, 1005, the second value is stored, right? But if you have multiple values stored in your program, it is difficult to access that. It's difficult to remember what memory location your data is stored, right? So that's why we give the name to that using the variables, and that variable will point to that particular memory location. In simple words, if I want to give the example, let's say you have an area or field, you have created a plots on that. Okay, so that plot, and what we do, we give the plot numbers to each of the plot. So that plot is nothing but your memory location, the chunk of that memory location, right? Plot numbers are memory addresses, but still we have the memory plot numbers. What we do, we give when we build the house on that plots, we give the particular name to that house, right? Why we give the name? It is very difficult to remember the plot number. If you want to tell the address of somebody, you come to the plot number 25 and falana falana road, this uh, colony. So again, he has to remember that he told me the plot number 25. But if you tell him the come to Sai Nivas XYZ colony, he will directly come and he can easily search the your place, right? If you give the plot number, maybe he may remember or he may forget that, or maybe if he has to deliver some product on the 10 plots, he may be forget your plot number, right? He may miss your plot number. But if you tell him, if you give the specific name of your house, it will be delivered to your house, right? So same thing is applied here. We are giving the names to that memory location. We are giving name to the plots or our houses, right? Same concept work here for the variables. So I hope the variable naming is clear now. What is a variable? Variable is the pointer or the name to that memory location, and it will help us to access that memory location value whenever we need it throughout the program. Okay. Now there are certain rules when we define the variables. So the variable name should be some characters allowed to define the variable names. What are the characters allowed? Underscore, capital letters, small letters, and digit. So these all four things or four characters are recommended, or we can are allowed to define the variable names. Blank space comma are not allowed to define a variable's name. No space symbol or other than the underscore symbol are allowed. No special characters other than the underscore are allowed to define the variable name. First character should be the alphabet or underscore. So when you are defining the variable name, the first character should be alphabet or underscore. It should not be even a digit. Even though digits are allowed, the variable name should not start with the digit. It should start with the underscore or alphabet. Also, it should not contain the reserve words. What are the reserve words? So these are the reserve words. If is used for if condition. Sorry. Then for these are all the reserve words for the Python, which Python uses for himself. Apart from this word, we can define the variable names. We can use the variable name, but we should not use this defined reserved words because it will create ambiguity for a Python interpreter. The print is a function to print the output on the screen. And if you create a variable with print, the Python interpreter will get confused. It is a function or I have to basically it is a variable or it is a print function. He has to execute and display the output on the output screen or what it has to do, right? So let's see what are the some valid names and what are the invalid variable names. So these are the num is the valid variable name. This is also valid variable name. Underscore we can use and digits also we can use. The variable name can also start with the underscore temp. These are all very valid variable name. This is invalid variable name. Why? Because there is a space in between number and 1. Special characters, comma or dots are not allowed. So that's why the second one is also not a valid variable name. Here also we have the space in between addition of program. So that's why it is invalid. One number. This is again a invalid variable name because the number should start from the digits or not should not start with the digit. It should start from the character or underscore. So all remaining the two are again invalid because they are starting with the digits. OK, so these are all the variables and there are the rules to define the variable. Once we define a variable, how to assign the value to the variable? So using the equals to sign, we can assign the value to the variable. So name equals to Anil. So what it will do, it will create a variable called name. It will store the value into the memory and this variable will be pointing to that memory location. OK. Similarly for the age, similarly for the a equals to 10.10. OK, so all data typing and all Python interpreter will do it for you. No need to worry about the data type of the variable. It will be automatically handled by the Python interpreter. OK. OK, so this is all about the Python and why it is gaining the popularity. How we are going to proceed in this course. So we are going to cover the Python. So whenever we are covering the topics, basically that time itself, we will go through the interview questionnaire so that we can parallelly, once we cover the topic in between, whatever the possible interview questions on that particular topic will be covered and will be discussed within the class itself so that you can create your notes or you can have that questions ready with you and With the class itself, we are going to prepare ourselves for the interviews as well. Okay. So once we done with the Python, then we will see the SQL database. There we will be using the MySQL. Then we will go to the HTML, CSS.